Hey, old man on the mat crew. This is Tony Jones coming at you with another great episode of Old Man on the Mat. Like I was just saying a few minutes ago, I've been called the original old man the other day, and I thought that was kind of funny. But it was by some 20-year-old kid on the mat, but I should have choked him more. But guys, I'm telling you, life is awesome. Every day we take a breath is a good day. God's not done with us yet. Open my eyes every day, and I'm like, well, if I'm awake, he ain't done with me. So let's get this party started. But guys, like I said before, go ahead, guys, and like and share us. You can find us on all the platforms you get your podcasts on: Apple, Spotify, iHeart, YouTube, Facebook, all the things out there. Just go ahead and like and share. Leave me some good comments. Leave me some bad ones. Let me know if you guys like what we're doing, if I'm doing something right or doing something bad. I normally don't listen to the bad stuff, but I'll take it into consideration. And guys, I appreciate you guys with all the merch you guys are buying out there. If it's flying off the shelves at oldmanonthemat.com. We do have rash guards that have launched already, so grab some of those. Everything is out. I appreciate you more. But guys, I'm excited about this guy who's coming on today. Excuse me, something's got in my throat. But I'm very excited about this guy. And like I said before, in our community, we never know. We look at certain people, you may think they're, oh, that guy in martial arts. You find out that guy's in the martial arts. You find out this guy's in the martial arts. You never know in our community who's in the martial arts. I found out my neighbor's in the martial arts. He's a second degree in some other art and stuff. It's awesome, our community. And this guy here, let me tell you about him a little bit. The guest we have now, he's a brown belt in Kempo karate. He's a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's out there at Marathon MMA in Overland Park, Kansas City, under UFC lightweight Trey Ogden. And we were just talking a few minutes before coming on. I found out he has a degree in painting, and that just blows my mind. That's really cool. Well, with that, guys, I give you Scott Allen. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. Happy to be on and see where this thing goes.
Right? Let's hope it'll go off the rails, right?
Yeah.
But man, just like we were saying before, I just love that you're a painter, and you never know who's been touched by the martial arts bug, right?
Right.
When did you get your degree in painting?
Back in 1996, and my professor in art school, they give you you basically pick a professor to do kind of a directed studies. It's very similar to doing like a doctoral thesis, and at the time I didn't realize it, but he was very big on having a repeated ritual when you go into the studio. And I can't remember what the name of the art was, but it was a martial arts centered around using a bow. And in his studio, he had this really cool old bank that he had converted into his house. And in his studio, he had a stack of hay bales. And when we would go in there and work, he would always kneel down, get the bow out, and do kind of a quick meditative type of thing. And then he would, very close range, would shoot the arrow into the bales of hay. And at the time I didn't realize it, but I in some ways have been under the tutelage of a martial artist for a long time, and being 20 some odd years removed from it, a lot of what he says now that I've been studying martial arts for a pretty fair amount of time, a lot of what he said at the time went right over my head, and now I'm like, man, it's starting to click.
Now you get it.
Yeah.
Wow. But that's pretty cool, man, to be taught by somebody like that. You didn't even understand what was going on at first with this guy with the bow. You see a lot of that in a lot of the old Japanese arts, They did a lot of bow and horse riding and things like that. That's phenomenal, man. Now, how did your martial arts walk start? Tell me your story. When did it start?
Let's see. I played soccer. I wrestled enough to say that I did it, is the way I describe my wrestling career in high school.
I like it.
Fairly high-level soccer player, and I ended up going to the University of Kansas, and all they had was a club team. So I played there for a while, and then I was always kind of active, and I had been playing indoor soccer, and I got kind of bored with that, and I went on vacation. This was back in 2008. I went on vacation with my family. We were in Mexico, and I was playing soccer barefooted with the staff. What? And one of the staff members chipped the ball to me, and I didn't know the layout of the resort, and I had my head up and was watching the trajectory of the ball, and I went to try and trap it, and I ended up slamming my foot there's a point to this ramble, I promise.
That's all right. Keep going, brother.
No, I slammed my foot into a concrete curb and I broke it.
Ah,
So I spent a week in a cast, and I came back, and the orthopedic surgeon that was doing the initial consult came around the corner, and I could tell by his posture. I'm like, this is not good. And I said, surgery? And he said, yes, tomorrow morning, it'll be one of two.
wow.
So I ended up, they actually have my funny story. They actually have the picture of my x-ray on the wall in his office, because I every once in a while will go see him for a follow-up. And uh, he said, this is the worst thing I've seen. And he did the surgery, and he said, you're more than likely going to walk with a limp, and you're going to want to
What?
keep your exercise to like light walking, maybe some bicycling. He's like, nothing contact oriented. Well, over the course of recovery, I had put on a lot of weight. I think at my heaviest, I was at 260. And for reference, right now I'm walking around about 175, 180 ish, somewhere in that ballpark.
Wow. That is serious weight loss. Holy
Yeah.
cow.
So I decided that I actually got into it via Tai Chi, just because I
Okay.
was like, I got to get some mobility back in this foot, and some trust in the balance. And I did that for about 3 months and started to lose a little bit of weight. And the instructor said, hey, do you want to get into the fighting side of this? And I said, sure. Went through the course of that progression. And I think it was a very good starter martial art, but I got to the point, and there were some things like I didn't agree with, just from the financial perspective. They were charging a pretty significant amount for belt promotions, belt tests on top
Yeah.
of the tuition. And there was a lot, I didn't have a lot of trust in its effectiveness. So I decided that, for one, and kind of protest, I didn't, just to be transparent, the belt test was $750. And I'm like, no,
Oh,
screw this. I'm
jeez.
not doing
No.
this. So
No. No.
I picked up the
Nope.
phone, and I called Marathon, and Trey answered the phone, and I went in there. And this was my favorite part about the whole story. I walked in there, I'm like, yeah, I'm a brown belt, I got to be able to handle myself. Friend of mine, Matt Hensley, just absolutely mopped the mat with me, did anything he wanted to me, and I was like, okay, sold. And
Oh, man.
um I actually ended up doing that's a story for another time, but I ended up doing the logo for the rebrand, because at the time it was Glory MMA, and there was a need for a rebrand. And I actually did the logo and all the merchandise and stuff for Marathon. And
Oh, that's cool.
here's that gets us up to present day.
That's pretty cool, man. Okay. But you mentioned something about the pay to play kind of thing with martial arts. And I've seen that too come over the years. You have your tuition, then they're charging this crazy amount of money to go through a belt testing. It's just
Yes, and
getting,
then
it's get,
privates, and
yeah,
all, there's always, it felt a little bit. I understand you're running a business. I don't hate that. I
yeah,
have a business myself, but there was a point where I was like, this is, you know, very expensive for, your average person. And it just,
yeah.
I didn't have a lot of trust in it at the very end. I'm glad I did it, because I think had I not gone through that process, walking into a full on MMA gym at that level would have been a little bit intimidating. So
Yeah.
I think I needed that as a starter art to kind of grow into the where I'm at now, and understand, what a quote unquote real gym is about.
And I get that. I get that 100% because I see, and I hate, I hate, but I do it a lot. But I'm not here to bash on other martial artists, but just see, where the martial arts has gone to with a lot of these schools. And I use Taekwondo a lot, to pick on them a lot, because they
Same.
charge a ton of money, right? I see these little kids with black belts at like 9 years old walking out in the grocery stores, and they're paying this just crazy amount of money for this stuff. And hey, I'm a business owner too, and I don't mind making money, but I'm just like, geez, Louise, man, for these
Well,
belts.
for me,
Ugh.
it's the concerning part of it is, I think when you get into that pay to play, or the fast track to black belt type of stuff, you get
Yeah,
a false sense of security. And that, obviously,
bingo.
someone, you don't want to disparage anybody who's training, but there's a difference between, that's why I think jujitsu in modern times, because most schools, you have open rounds at the end of class, and you're pressure testing the stuff. And you get a real, if it works with a real live resisting human being versus a lot of memorization of movement patterns. Because
Right.
I'm sure you've rolled with a trial class spazzy white belt. They don't move
Yeah.
how they're supposed to.
Right. It's like you just got to hold them.
Yeah, what are you
Calm
doing?
down.
Right.
And you're not wrong. You're not wrong. That's one. I liked what you just said that you're pressure testing. Basically, every class, you're pressure testing your technique. And, you're rolling with these guys. And you're right. You're put to the test after you spend, 20 minutes of drilling. And then you got the rest of the class of just trying to kill each other. And
Yep.
man, it wakes you up, man. It tells you what will and won't work, And I don't know how many. Do you roll a lot? We're about the same age. I'm not going to say your age. I think you're 31, right? Right.
I am
Right.
52.
Dang it! You're supposed to stick with the 31. No. But at your age, do you roll a lot with a bunch of guys? Do you do all the full rounds? Like most gyms have 5 or 6 rounds, 5 minutes each. You still do that?
I try to do all 5. There are. I had a kind of a light bulb moment at about 2 to 3 stripes and on my white belt where I can't remember. I think the guy named Rick Ellis, who's a black belt under Roy Dean, and he's got an older grappler community as well. And he was talking about the key to longevity in our sport at, once you get over the age of 40 is it's less about intensity and it's more about frequency. And I really took that to
Yeah.
heart. So I
Yeah.
used to go balls to the wall and try and do all 5. The problem was, when you're chock full of adrenaline, you can do that. But the next day it's like, I need a wheelchair type of thing.
Absolutely, man.
So I will take a rest round from here and there. But what I've tried to do is really lately been structuring my training less around the amount of rounds and more working on, this is the concept, I'm going to try it, knowing that I may be terrible at this for a month, but knowing that 30, 60 days down the pike that I'm going to be better at this skill. And I think it's made it a little bit more enjoyable where it takes the pressure off of quote unquote winning training. And I keep it a little more still and there are times, don't get me wrong, where it's fun to just, jam the throttle down and play around in the red line. But over the body of work, I've tried to keep it a little more, like, lack of a better word, kind of technical.
That's what you're saying. Yeah. But that makes sense, though, especially, and I don't want to be like, at our age, and get off my lawn and all that stuff. But, at our age, we have to take it easy. We can't just go balls to the wall with the 20-year-old every round. You know what I mean? So that's a good way to think about it. I know a lot of times I try to take that rest round between, but then I get some razzing for some of the guys, and I'm like, I gotta get off the mat now. I gotta get back on the mat now. Here we go.
Well, a lot of times I'll look at them and say, I have T-shirts that are older than you are. So
right.
Yeah.
But you have to be smart about it. That you have to be smart. And I see a lot of guys in our age group, and that's what I was talking to another guy about it. What's so great about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or any of the grappling arts is, at our age, we still can get out there and do some rolling. Even though we may have injuries, knees, back, elbows, and all that stuff, we still can get out there and get a good workout.
Absolutely. Funny you say that. I'm currently dealing with the tail end of a rib injury.
Oh, man. Those breathing ones suck. Oh, yeah,
man.
Well,
luckily I was aware. It happened last week during open mat, and in the round that it happened, I didn't really think anything of it. I did another round, and then the third round it barked at me, and I'm like, okay, we got to shut it down. And I'm very thankful I had the wherewithal to say, yep, we're done for the day. So
yeah, smart man. Listen to your body, man. Because a lot of times, a lot of guys don't. When we were younger, I'm sure we rub some dirt in and keep out there. But now, man, we have lives. We want to live. The Bible says 120 years. I'm trying to get them.
Yes.
Get them all. But I want to look good while I get them.
Right.
Now, what I know when you say you walked in there and you thought it was a great art by your introduction to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now, what do you like the most about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? And this is not going to be a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu podcast, but I just, a lot of guys are doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I like to know what these guys like about it more, if it's the same as everyone out there,
I think first and foremost, and a lot of this is a credit to my instructor, is the community he's created there is off the charts. Just the people, it's all walks of life, and you've got anywhere from 20-something semi-professionals. We actually have 2 or 3 guys that are signed to the UFC, and the beautiful thing about it is you can line up against like Miles Johns is an example. Garrett Armfield's another one that we've got in there. These guys fight on TV. My instructor fights on TV, and I have never felt like, if you want the full deal, give me the full UFC MMA experience, they'll give it to you. But conversely, they do a really good job of fostering and, showing you some stuff and not, I've never felt like I've just been absolutely run over unless I ask for it, if that makes sense to frame it like that. And
yeah, it does. It does make sense. Yeah.
the referencing kind of the part B of that question is, given, I come from a fine arts background and the artistic side of my brain, where the way that it's taught at my school is you understand the concept and the technique, and after you get a little bit of skill and you start to get good at it, it's not as rigid. It gives you some, I think my favorite thing about jiu-jitsu is it gives you the ability to gravitate towards things that you like and really shape your own game without, you're supposed to throw the block this way. It's like, if it works and you can do it consistently and you're having fun with it, then there's no quote unquote wrong way to do it. And I think that's one of my favorite things about the art.
Yeah.
And another thing that I've always enjoyed about it is you can roll with the same person five rounds in a row, and all 5 rounds will look, it's not going to be a carbon copy of, round 2 is going to look way different than round 5.
Right. That makes sense, though. You know what I mean? Now, when you did Kempo, what did you like about Kempo? I mean, that you liked about the style at all? You know what I mean? Before you decide to leave.
It does. The one thing that I think that it does is it's really good about multiple strikes, where I think a lot of times I feel like we're making fun of Taekwondo, but I think a lot of times it had a little bit more, because it was very close quarters and a lot of elbows and things in a real self-defense situation, I feel like would be pretty effective. And it's like any art, it does have its holes, but I think if you take out some of the things I didn't enjoy about it, is there was often times where there was some really awkward positioning, but there are little pieces of it that are really effective, and in some ways have actually translated over to jiu-jitsu, just with like footwork and space awareness type things.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Have you done any other arts other than Tai Chi and Kempo and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Anything else you dabbled in?
That's, other than, like I said, I wrestled enough to say that I did it. So
there you go. I tell you, wrestling, man. Oh my gosh, those guys are all. I just always remember I went to Iowa State, and they have some great wrestlers out there. And I was on a judo team, and once a month we had to work out with the wrestlers. Oh, I hated those days, man. The wrestlers
off
never
switch.
know. Oh God, man, they just know. And when they get tired, it's like they ramp it up one more level. It's like, where'd that level come from? Oh my gosh, it was phenomenal, man. But now, what's out there in Kansas City that's fun to do?
At my age, I'm kind of a homebody. They're doing a lot of the Power and Light District is a pretty big draw, and then the Crossroads has over the years has established a pretty nice art scene.
Yeah,
and they've got, the thing about Kansas City that makes it I enjoy living here is the highway system. You pretty much get anywhere you want within 10-15 minutes, so it's kind of pick whatever you're into.
Okay. So everything is easy. And I asked that to everyone because I always like to travel. So I travel once a month. I go somewhere different, and I've never been there. So I'm like, hey, what's out there?
Well, the standard issue is barbecue, but what I like to do is my favorite place is LC's, and it's not well known, but that's fun to do, is take somebody to a legit barbecue restaurant and show them this is, because some of them are kind of touristy barbecue, but the LC's is the classic. If you want the classic Kansas City barbecue experience, that's where I would take you if you were here.
All right, LC's. Put that down here. Now, do you travel much at all? Like, when you go to different gyms and all that kind of stuff?
Not really, just because I, being a a business owner, and we've got 2 dogs. The last place I went to was, my parents live in a very small town in Oklahoma, and I did a drop-in Enid, Oklahoma, at Shaw Mat, and they were a beautiful experience. They were super welcoming, had a good time, and my mom got to see. She hears me talk about it, and she's seen pictures, but that's kind of a neat thing where she came in and got to see what I do a couple times a week, and
Oh man.
trying to recruit her to the cult as well.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Have your mom beat you up.
Yeah. Well, that's what's funny is my age, she can still give me the look and stop me in my tracks.
I know. Oh man, moms are always going to be moms, brother. I tell you.
Yes,
My
sir.
mom, my mom passed a couple years ago, and I mean, even almost before she passed, she'd always say, "Tony, come sit on my lap. I want to talk to you." And I'm like, "Mom, I'll crush your lap," But she always tried to get me to sit on her lap. Moms are moms, man. Now, how do you modify your training now? As been a little bit older. Is there any specific modifications you go in with, thinking, okay, I know I can't do this, so I'm gonna have to do this instead?
What I have, like I said, I had kind of that light bulb moment at about 2 stripes, and what I really started working on is making sure that I warm up properly, like added in electrolytes, making sure I'm hydrated,
Okay.
and watching the. I think a lot of it's the pre and post work have been the biggest things for me, because I was notorious for showing up on Saturday for open mat and just jump on the mat and go. And I'm lucky I didn't get injured doing that. And what I've been aware of is getting the body warm, and then also finding, I have a couple training partners that are there consistently on Saturday mornings, and we have a unspoken kind of warm up flow roll where we're going about 50%.
Okay.
And then on the other side of it, making sure to stretch and rehydrate and just cool the body down,
Okay.
rather than, get home from class, get off the mat, sit down and start doing whatever. I've made a conscious effort to stretch, and that seems to help with the being able to train more days a week.
Okay. Okay, that's good to know, because I think, and like I said, at our age, a lot of guys have different routines, and I think the most common one that I see, especially some of the older guys that are really, I wouldn't say really good, but really athletic, they do a lot of stretching before and after class. And I
Yep.
think that's important. Now, what does your nutrition look like? Do you have like a strict nutrition, like your carnivore diet, vegan, all that stuff?
I have a meal service that I use, and I tend to keep it on the keto, low carb side of things, just for at the advice of my physician. And do sometimes during the summer, like when it's hot like this, I'll do a little bit more kind of a carb cycling thing, where if I know, like right now I'm training Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, have a private on Friday, and then open mat on Saturday mornings. And
Oh wow.
what I'll do is, like, before, like, Tuesday will be a fairly heavy carb day in comparison to the other ones, because I know Wednesday and Thursday I'm going to probably burn that off. Same thing with Friday, and then I I take Sundays where I don't do anything other than maybe like some light walking. I Just a recovery day to kind of reset the week, and
Yeah.
that's been working for me. So it's the if it ain't broke, don't fix it type thing.
Right. Man, 5 days a week, basically, you're running at this thing.
Yeah, it was a Monday,
Wow.
Wednesday, Thursday. Well, Friday's not a that's more um one of my coaches, Stephen Graham. Uh I've worked with him for a solid 2 years, and that's honestly been some of the best investment I've made in my jiu-jitsu journey. Is he does a really good job of crafting things that will work in my game, as well as, like, when he's watching me roll, being able to point out, hey, I see you're struggling with this, let's work on this. So it's
Okay.
not, we might do like maybe a round, but
Yeah.
it's more just problem, like dealing with specific holes in my game. So I'm not in there doing 5 rounds on Friday.
Okay. Gotcha. But it's still a training, though. It's still a training, regardless of, I'm sure you guys get like a slight roll in there a little bit to
Yeah.
move and everything. So that's impressive, man. I thought I was kicking it at 3 to 4 times a week. But You're on it, man. But but that's to me, that's inspirational. No joke, man. And I know at 50 is not supposed to be as old as they act like it is, but it's for you to be out there on the mat rolling for 4 or 5 days a week, that's impressive, man. That's
I
really
appreciate
impressive.
that.
No, seriously, dude. Wow. Keep it up, man. Now, do you compete much at all or no?
I have. I just got my blue belt like maybe 2 months ago, and the way at my school, Trey
Congratulations.
doesn't do stripes. Once you get to a color belt, you're at that color belt until you get to the next belt.
Yeah.
And I think I competed maybe 3 or 4 times at white belt, and I think my plan is I'd like to compete at least once or twice at every belt. And part of me is like, you know what, just get in there and see where you're at compared to other blue belts. And part of me is like, I need a little bit more time at blue belt to jump into the deeper
Yeah.
water. So
Okay. I get what you're saying. Yeah. I get what you're saying, man. That's awesome. I know everyone's training right now for World. Well, World's going on this week. I think it starts today.
yeah. Well, and
Uh,
part of the challenge with the local tournaments is you get into a situation where the combination of, hopefully this gets a little better at blue belt, but at a white belt, being my age and then trying to find the weight, there were very few times I competed where it was actually me against another white belt of the same rank, of the same age and same weight. I was always either had to go down. Like there was one
yeah.
tournament I went to where ended up going up against a blue belt, and he just cooked me. And then 30 seconds after he got off the mat, he got his purple belt. And I was like,
Oh,
well,
great.
yes. So
Like, congratulations.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Appreciate being your warm up, right? Oh,
Yeah,
man. Now, are you married or no?
I am.
All right, does she train with you at all or?
She does not. And I think it's kind of a good thing because she has like her stuff that she does, and I have my stuff that I do, and then we have the things we do together. So I think that's part of the reason why our marriage has worked,
Okay.
because it's the door's always open, but she just, personality wise, it's just not her thing.
And that's completely fine, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you do that, do your own thing. Now, I love where you were talking about your nutrition and stuff. So it looks like at your game level, you found what works for you. Now, do you train a lot of guys? I know being a blue belt, you're not training a whole bunch, but I'm just saying, do you train guys in the nutrition area too? Give them tips on that kind of stuff or anything like that?
No, not really. I just I think my biggest, like I said, with the community, is I just like to be a part of something where they give me shit for being old sometimes, but I don't
Yeah.
feel like hopefully I'm not a hindrance out there. And
Yeah.
hopefully, I've had people tell me that, I hope I look like that when I'm older. And I take that as if that's my value add to the community, is to be an inspiration for what, over 50, you can still do this and
Yeah.
thrive. If
Yeah.
that's what I'm here for, then so be it.
That's cool, man. I like that. But are you the oldest guy at your gym, quote unquote, or no?
It's between me and my friend Jeff. I think he might have a year on me, but we're definitely the two oldest.
Oh, that's good stuff, man. That is good stuff. I think right now I'm the oldest one at our gym. And they let me know that a lot.
Yep.
Which is all fun and games, man. It's all fun and games. Now, what's your goal with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Is your goal to just go all the way, or it's just part of your life right now?
With this one, I would like to see it all the way through to black belt. And the one thing, having when I Kempo has a lot more belts, like significantly more.
Yeah.
And what I noticed, and I'm very proud of the way this turned out, because when I was at Kempo, I was belt chasing, where it's like,
Hmm.
well, on to the next belt, on to the next belt. And when
Right.
I blew the whole thing up and decided to start over as a fresh white belt, I told myself, I said, I'm going to enjoy this. The stripes will come, the belt will come when it's supposed to.
Right.
And I can honestly say I enjoyed my white belt experience, and on everything, all those expectations that I had put out there, the way that I wanted it to go through, without worrying, just going in there, training to stay healthy, getting better, and staying healthy, I accomplished those, and I enjoyed the progression without getting so much caught up in the, well, how much until my blue belt, and then when am I getting my purple belt? It's like, go get better than you were last week, keep showing up type thing.
Yeah. And I think if most guys took that mentality, I think they would have more fun. I don't know if guys are not having fun with it, but I know some guys that belt chase in different arts and things. And I've been in martial arts since I was 8 years old, in some form or the other, going to different arts and stuff. And I think at my age and starting Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu a few years ago, and I just probably like yourself, I'm in a different mindset now. It's just more of I'm happy to be there. You know what I mean? I'm happy to be able to train. So I'm not chasing any belts. It's just I'm here, man. I'm here. I'm trying to give my best every class. And if I can walk off that mat, give it my all, I feel pretty good about my day. You know what I mean?
Well, and one of the favorite things my wife has ever said to me is she said, you have never gone to the gym and come back in a worse mood. And I think that's kind of one of the underrated components of, getting, the problems are still there, but I always find after you get off the mat, especially after one of those good sessions, the problems are still there. They just don't hit as hard.
Right. And I think it's a way. It's our way of our body of letting go of that anything we were worried about, stress and everything. Because you take your mind off of it for that hour or whatever time you're there.
I think it's a situation where you can't be thinking about, well, the mortgage is due while somebody's trying to choke you, or you're going to get choked.
Good point.
So I think it's a Joe Rogan thing where he talks about it being a form of meditation, and I can see where he's referencing that, because one of my friends is been meditating to the point where he goes to retreats. He's been doing it for 20 to 25 years now.
Yeah.
And a lot of the mindset and the headspace that we talk about, it's the destination is the same, just the way that you get there is a little different.
Yeah, that's true. And I like that. It is. I guess it is like a form of meditation, because you're not thinking about anything else. You're trying to fix that puzzle while you're on the mat.
Yep.
Somebody's trying to choke you. You don't want to be choked. So how do you get out of it? With the piece of the puzzle. You know what I mean? But I just love how, you ask your coach. I know I asked mine and said, so how do I get out of this? So he says, well, number one, don't get in there.
Yeah.
Note taken.
Well, I heard somebody say, if you've made it to this point, you screwed up a long time ago.
Right. Exactly. About 9 steps ago, you screwed up,
You are in a really bad triangle, and good luck.
Yeah, good luck, right? How do you get out of this? How do you get out of that? Well, don't get in there, man. But I think a lot of times we get caught in stuff when we're being lazy. But then you got guys who can put you in stuff that no matter if you're lazy or not, But I know myself.
Especially like you get in the upper belt range, and they know, they could tell you what they're going to do to you, and you still have problems stopping it.
Oh my God, that's the most frustrating thing to me. You got those favorite guys you roll with. You think, I know what they're going to do, but I'm going to stop it. Nope, it ain't happening. Oh my God, my buddy Vic, we always roll together, and he's always telling me, "Here it comes, Tony. Here it comes," and I'm always like, "Not today, Satan. Not today." And guess what? It comes.
Yeah, and we talk a little shit every once in a while during the round, and there's a guy that routinely tries to put me in a Peruvian necktie, and that's one of the times where I'll kind of chirp back. I'm like, no, you're not. You can get anything else on me, but not that one today.
That's right. Not one today. But what is so cool, and just talking about that, it's so cool about, being in a grappling art, being in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that you can have fun with each other on the mat. You really can. Because other arts I've come through, and not knocking them, I've done, black belt in different arts, and, it was very strict. You know what I mean? Very, this, I know, not a whole lot of talking, not this, not that. But in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you can have fun with it, not being crazy, but you can enjoy yourself on the mat, talk shit to each other, and still get a great workout. No one's yelling at you for that,
I think there was a thread it may have been Twitter or Facebook, but the topic was, how do you describe Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to someone else? And one of the guys, I love this response. He said, it's like if you taught a bunch of surfers how to fight.
That's good. That's good. Oh man, that's perfect. That's like, did you watch the Craig Jones Invitational?
Yeah, I was going back and forth. I spent the majority of the time watching the CJI and a little bit of ADCC.
Yeah, the CJ, I keep messing it up, but Craig Jones Invitational, watching, was that Rotolo? That's that
Yeah.
surfer that he learned how to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he's killing everybody.
Well,
It's
and
like,
in one
man.
of like, there's one of the guys from Eddie Bravo's gym is a former break dancer, and I can see my wife and I were watching the Olympics, and I was like, man, some of these people be really good at jujitsu, just the way they're able to the body control and body awareness that they've got to do some of those movement patterns are real similar.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. But but I think it was at Eddie Bravo's place out there, 10th Planet, where a lot of these guys start coming through. That these different, and we say offbeat personalities and things they did, but they're just phenomenal on the mat, man. I
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's like we were saying earlier about there's so many different walks of life. People have different walks of life that's a part of this community, and you would never suspect some of these guys, man. Like you look at most of these guys, they look like quote unquote the nerdy guys, but they would tie you in like 12 knots in a row. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The guy who looks like a coffee barista is going to be a problem.
Exactly. And if he has glasses on, forget it.
Yep.
But that's great about it, man. Some of these guys, but they're the nicest people. So for anybody out there listening to this podcast thinking, well, I don't, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I'm afraid of whatever, people are the most nicest guys in this community. I've seen it. You know what I mean? But,
I will co-sign that.
there you go. And I used to tell my story all the time. It's where, before I went to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I always wanted to, before I found the gym that I'm at now, I always wanted to learn it. So I went to different gyms, but when they find out you have a black belt in a different art, oh my gosh, some of them were just, excuse my French, they were dicks, you know what I mean? So I
Uh-huh.
looked around for a little while, then I found the gym I am. I was like, I think this is going to be my last time. I was like, you know what? I'm getting older. We're going to get rid of our gym, and I'm going to just travel. And I said, I'm going to find a place. And I found these guys, and I fell in love from day one. Walked in the mat at Lake County Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it's been amazing, dude. And that's the reason I haven't retired and moved to Hawaii.
Well, and that's one of the things that I enjoy about our gym is that there's some places there's you don't ask the black belts to roll and things like that. And we never,
Yeah.
I roll with my instructor frequently, roll with the black belts all the time, and that's that I think it's good for both sides of the coin where
Yeah.
you get to see they'll let you work for a little bit and then they will show you why they're a black belt. But
Right there. Shut that down fast. Yep.
but every once in a while they will, like, I pulled up, it was just kind of one of those in the moment scramble type situations. I hit something on a black, didn't get a submission or anything, but there's an interesting transition that happened. And after the roll, we actually spent the next 5 minutes. He's like, let's play with this and dissect it. And he's like, okay, what'd you do here? Because he's like, I didn't have an answer for that. And the lack of being completely humble, and I was a white belt at the time, and like that right there, that just the culture and the environment is something you can't force it.
Yeah.
And we just got such, I know I keep gushing about it, but I think that's,
No.
if somebody's looking for a new place to train or getting into jiu-jitsu, that would be, if I ever had to move and go somewhere else, that would be the first thing I would check, would be kind of the vibe and the community of the place. Because at the end of the day, jiu-jitsu is kind of, it's jiu-jitsu, and you can teach it style wise, but the thing that keeps you coming back and the thing that matters is the people.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. You're absolutely right, man. And that's what they like about this community. It's just the people that I've run into. Since I've been over here and I branched out to different places, is everyone's just great. Everyone wants to help you. And and this is one reason why I really enjoy rolling with the black belts, because you can try in my mind, I know I'm going to get beat, right? But I can try the stuff that I need to try. You know what I mean? And not and see if this works. I don't think it's going to work on them, but at least I get my body movements right, and then the black belt can tell me, okay, this is the next time you want to do this, the next time you want to do that. They at our gym the same way, man. They're always there to help you, man. Any of the higher belts, you know what I mean? It's really cool, man.
And oftentimes it's such a small thing that, like, you learn the technique. Your first year in, you kind of get a maybe 10% of the technique, and then when you kind of come back to the technique, you start to pick up more and more stuff, and you think, on average, most black belts they've been doing it for 10, 11, 12 years, and they're able to notice it's a little hand positioning. It's like, instead of here, like, windshield wiper your leg over, just like a little subtle thing that will change the entire sequence.
Exactly. But how many, I don't know, but how many arts you see that in really? I'm not trying to compare and say that this one's better than that one, but I'm just saying for the community, it is to me. You
Yeah.
know, the people, and especially since I've started doing this podcast, I ran into so many different Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners, different arts, higher ranked Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, blue belts and white belts. Talked to a lady that's a white belt in Australia, and it's the same community over there.
Yep.
Everybody's nice, everybody help you, man. That's good stuff, man. So, what's your favorite part about rolling?
I just
threw that right out there like that too.
No, I like it because it gives you the ability to, like I referenced it earlier, is the pressure testing it, and then we've got a pretty good size. It's not unusual to have 30 plus people on the mats, and you get to see, if you're working on a particular, like like I said, there was a big change at 2-stripe white belt. I had a purple belt mentor, and I decided that for about a month and a half, I was going to do nothing but work on Kimura entries and attacks and that type of thing. And working through that with a bunch of different people. And then when you finally, I think this is kind of what makes it addictive in some capacity, is when you finally start to get a modicum of skill where you're like, I can hit this on some of the upper belts. I can get, I may not always get the submission per se, but I'm at least getting to this position and seeing that improvement of, I had somebody told me that they're like, it's not you as a blue belt versus that person as a blue belt. It's you versus you. And I routinely have to remind myself of that, is the Scott that is on the mat right now, if he had to grapple with the Scott that walked in on day one, what does that look like? And I think that's part of the enjoyment, is that unless you're videotaping your rolls, or it's really hard to see progress in yourself. And when you get those little reminders, those little kind of micro things where it's like, oh, I hit that, this is working well.
Yeah.
I've gotten way better at this. I think that's one of my favorite parts, is taking some time to reflect back on how far the thing has come.
No, that's pretty good. Compare yourself to when you first walked in the door. How you feeling?
I'd smash that guy. So yeah.
Well, there you go. You're doing all right there.
Well, the funny thing is we wouldn't be in the same weight class now. That's
good point. You were at 260 walking in there, right? 240, 260 or something like that.
Yeah, I was closer to 240 at the time, because I had started to drop some weight, but still, if we were in a tournament, we would not be in the same bracket. So
wow. There's that. Oh man. Now, how's your grip strength? You got old man strength, as we call it.
I don't know. I mean, my knuckles, my right hand, I think, because I'm right-handed, it has some moments where they're a little sore, but all in all, other than I've got the rib injury right now, I've been, knock on wood, pretty injury free. So
that's awesome, man. That's awesome. But I think a lot of times, like, when we used to have our own gym, and we'd tell the parents, oh, my kid's gonna do football or whatever now, because I don't want him to get hurt in martial arts. I'm like, you can have bigger chance to get hurt doing one of those activities than you can in martial arts, especially in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anything grappling or something like that, you see that a lot nowadays. And most of my injuries I have come from old martial arts, a lot of judo throws on my head, a lot of that fun stuff getting spiked into the mat.
Yeah, judo's got a little, especially in the gi, judo's got some violence to it that I'd actually like to see some of that come back into jiu-jitsu, because I think there's a little bit of a, that's like the whole guard pulling thing. I get it, but I'd like to see a little bit of the, not a lot, because I think that's the difference between judo and jiu-jitsu, is judo, the way I understand the rule set, is there's a time limit once you, in a tournament situation, when you get to the ground, there's a time limit.
Yeah.
Or they'll stand you back up. And I think some of that, I'd like to see a little of that come bleeding back into jiu-jitsu.
And I get it. Because, watching the guard pullers, and I, like you said yourself, I understand it 100%. I understand why they do it. If it works for you, it works for you. But like I was watching at CGI, was that Rotolo and what was his name? The last one that won.
Wasn't
Uh,
Andrew? It wasn't Tackett, was it?
no, Tackett, that was an amazing fight. That was amazing.
Yeah.
But the other guy, they just pulled guard the whole time and just stayed on the ground, and it was a boring fight. I know he had a game plan. I understood that. However, it was kind of boring, and like I want to see guys stand up and throw each other around and all that kind of stuff. But I don't want them to do it to me, but
Right.
but I want to watch it. Now, do you guys have a lot of females rolling in your gym or students there?
We do. We got I'd say probably, let me think, probably solid group of 10 to 12.
Oh, okay.
And we just had one gal just moved away, so we're down one. But yeah, we've got a really nice women's community and also like a really good kids program as well.
Okay. That's pretty good, man. Now, how do you roll with the women if you do? And I don't know if your gym does that. I'm sure they do. But I'm like, do you roll differently? Meaning you got to be softer with the ladies, or you have some in there just like, balls to the wall. Let's go for this,
It depends, because we've got some purple belts and up that are quite frankly terrifying. So,
Yeah, right.
but I think a lot of it has to do with, if it's a situation where I think you have to be aware and really cognizant of, one, if there's a weight difference,
Hmm.
and two, if there's a strength difference where it does neither one of you any good for me to just assert dominance with pure muscle.
Right.
So I
Right.
think if it's one of those things where, like, if you're playing a video game, you would deselect your strength attribute and turn your skill. So
Gotcha.
they're actually some of my favorite roles, because they're, by implementing that thought process, you make it more technical, and
Hmm.
also you're protecting them. You're being a good training partner by giving
Right.
them and I don't want this to sound like I'm like placating or anything like that,
Oh
but
no.
if you get in there and just bully somebody, even if
Yeah.
it's not even a female, if you're just flat bullying somebody with strength or whatever physical attribute, neither one of you's getting any better.
True.
So I take that approach with kind of give what you get, to use an
Yeah.
old sparring reference.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. I get it 100%. We have women at our place I roll with on a regular basis. And like you were just saying, some of them you take it, I won't say easier, but you're not trying to lay on them and smash them to the ground and use all your strength. But there are a couple that go to my gym. It's at my gym. You have to fight them that way, they'll kill you.
Yep.
Man. And they have the nicest smiles too, right before they grab you and throw you on your head.
Well, that's one of my favorite things to watch, is watch the hero white belt guy come walking in the door and get humbled super quick.
Right? By somebody's mom.
Uh-huh.
That's one of the best ones, man. But once again, it's that community. I'm gonna hurt you, but I'm gonna love you afterwards.
Yep. Mutually
Oh,
agreed upon combat.
there you go. Exactly. Oh man. And you guys classes, your sessions are an hour also, right? Or you guys go a bit longer?
Typically, yeah, they're closer to they're a little bit longer, closer to an hour and a half.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. Because I know that's like a competition team. They go for over an hour and a half, I think it is.
Well,
And
we have a warm up, and then they'll teach a technique, and I really like the way he structures it, where he'll teach a technique. So if you're brand new, you're just learning, you can just do variation one over and over and over again. If you're more advanced, he'll show, the second break and technique. He'll show something a little bit more advanced. And then if you're a higher, a little bit more skilled, there's a third option. And then you just kind of do breakout sessions and roll, or not roll, just drill those. Sometimes
yeah,
do some situational stuff. And then the end of the class is the standard 5-minute rounds. And we
yeah.
go home.
Okay. That's awesome, man. You guys 30 seconds or 1 minute break?
I believe it's a minute.
Okay. Okay. Just checking because I want to make sure I'm not the only one dying within that 1 minute. That feels like it's 10 seconds.
I've heard some gyms do 8-minute rounds, so.
Whew. I mean, we've done on a couple occasions. I think Coach done 7-minute rounds or something like that. And it was, oh my gosh, it's just. That's when we talked about earlier. I got to realize and come back to, why am I here?
Yeah.
I'm not looking for the UFC.
Right.
Oh man, that's awesome. Now, if let me ask you this: if you were talking to some of your buddies, Linton, and you had one of them say, "I've never done a martial arts, never done anything, never done any fitness activity at all. I want to come try it." What would your first thing you tell them to do before they stepped on the mat, or is there anything you would tell them to do?
I think just, I'm sorry, can you ask that one more time?
If you had one of your friends or just somebody came up to you, about the same age bracket, they've never done any fitness activities, they've never done any sports, but they've seen what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has done for you, and they say, well, I want to come train with you. What would you advise them to do before they step on the mat? Anything that you would tell them to do? Eat better, do whatever, anything.
I think the biggest, you see this question a lot online, and I think my answer applies where people talk about getting in shape to go do jujitsu.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the best thing you can do is get in like actually get your feet on the mat. And that's the biggest, is just walk through the door, sign the waiver, and the rest of it will work itself out because nobody that is at a high skill level of anything is going to make fun of you for starting. And if they
Exactly.
do, that's not a good match. That's not a good gym. I'd leave. And everybody started there, and they're there to help you. And even though it's a combat sport, you always have the ability to stop it. You can tap. You have an out. So you're not going to get hurt. And over time, what I found was, for me, one of the interesting things is situations where I used to tap, I will fight through that a little bit longer because I know that for one, I've got a little bit more skill and I'm able to defend it a little bit better. But I also am it teaches you to go a little bit further outside of your comfort zone. And I think the first thing is just to remind people that what you referenced earlier, a good gym, nobody is there. Everybody's there. It's going to be a cheerleader and there to help you get better. And just, it's intimidating. It was for everybody, but once you realize what it is and the long-term benefits of it, it's worth that first step on the mat.
Right. Right. Okay, that's good. Now, do you have any of your buddies that that just refuse to come to the gym when you talk to them about it?
I've had a couple that have done, like they've done a month and then they kind of drop off. And I've kind of gotten to the point where unless you actively ask me about it, I'm not going to recruit you anymore, because the ones I've I've just been met with so many excuses.
Yeah.
And I've come to the mindset that they're just not ready for it.
Yeah.
But if they actively ask about it and they want to come train, I'll meet you at the door and I'll be your training partner and be your concierge, as it were,
Okay.
and work with them. But it's it is for everybody, but it's not for everybody. And I, like I said, I stopped asking. I tried to get a couple of my friends to do it, and one guy made it about a month and a half, and I haven't seen him since. And I'm like, well,
Did he's avoiding your phone calls?
no, it's just like, I don't want to, because I don't think like making fun of him or being like, hey man, where are you at? It's like,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, this wasn't, you're not ready for this right now, and it's always here and
Right.
will always be here. So if you want to come back to it, you're more than welcome to. But if you don't, I get that too.
Yeah. Yeah. But I like your attitude about that, man. I like that. I really do, man. Just open the door if they want to walk through. Okay. No big deal. No love lost. Good stuff, man. Well, before we get you out of here, because I know you got things to do, I know you're busy out there. What's your favorite technique?
Uh, if I had to, the first answer that came to my head is Kimura, so I'm going to stick with
Okay.
that.
Okay. Is that your go-to as soon as you go through, people knows he's going to get that Kimura?
That's when, if I'm losing, that's my go-to. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
But I think
All
it's
right.
like there's a reason. But as older grapplers, I think it gives you a situational control that if you get that particular grip, even the upper belts are going to have. You may not get anything out of it, but they're at least going to have to react to it. And I've had fun playing with the variations of it. So I think that's kind of the base of. For whatever reason, that was the first technique I kind of gravitated towards, and lately it's been playing with the combination between kind of a Kimura armbar triangle trifecta that it's been fun
Okay.
to explore that space.
Really? Okay. All right. Not bad at
It's a
all.
little hitchy right now, but we're getting there.
Okay, one day at a time, one roll at a time, right?
Yes.
That's awesome, man. But Scott, Tay, this has been awesome, brother. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. But before we get out of here, is there anything you want people to know, where they can find you? You know, put out some of your information with your business and gym, anything.
If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Scott Allen _art, and I post. It's basically jiu-jitsu stuff and some of my drawings and paintings and that type thing.
Okay, cool.
And if you're
Awesome.
ever open mats are Saturday mornings at 11 in Overland Park at Marathon. If you're ever in the Kansas City area, it's one of the better open mats in town.
Okay, I like that. So this is a challenge you throw out to anybody to come in, right? No, I'm just joking with you.
Well, you're assuming I gave you my real name, but yeah.
Right, exactly. Get one of your buddies' name. He walks in, he start getting choked out. What? Oh,
Yeah.
man. But this has been awesome, brother. I appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you taking the time to do this for us. We do have to get you back another time after, you get a little bit older
Yeah.
out there, as long as you're still alive, brother. But, man, this has been great. I do appreciate you more than you know. And we'll catch you on
Likewise,
the download on the other side.
I had fun. That was a good chat, and thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
All right, brother. We'll see you soon, and maybe we get some bourbon next time I come out to Kansas City, or for the first time I come out there.
Yes, sir.
All right, brother. Take care of yourself. We'll talk to you soon, my friend. Take care.
Bye.
All right, brother. Bye-bye.
Oh, man.